we're live on YouTube. Welcome everyone for our 22nd community call. I'm here with Iris. We're going to connect on Discord and we'll start in a few minutes.
Hello.
All right, I'm starting the call on Discord. And now people should be able to hear me. Wait a minute. Not yet. Now, hello. Now people should be able to hear me on Discord. And when I talk, you should be hearing me. I'm going to invite Iris here on Discord also. So Iris, you'll be able to talk. Can you hear me correctly? Okay, Iris, you can hear me.
Yes.
People that are connected on YouTube and starting to trickle in, and people are here on the community call on Discord. So welcome everyone, and welcome to this week's community call. Today we have Iris presenting Frens Lands. We're gonna wait for a few more minutes for people to connect, and then we'll start. So just a few more minutes of patience. Thank you. Okay. People are starting to connect. Okay, so let's wait one more minute and then we start. We really need to find a way to have a unified vision for community call, because right now it's split between Discord and YouTube, and I think it's not optimal for a lot of people, and it's definitely a hassle for people who are talking on the community call. So I don't know. What about you, Iris? Do you watch community calls? If you do you watch it on YouTube or on Discord?
On Discord.
So we need to keep it on Discord now. Cool. Okay, it's 2:35. Let's start. So again, welcome everyone for our 22nd community call for StarkNet. Today we have special guest Iris, who is going to talk to us about Frens Lands. Before we start, I want to address the elephant in the room. Iris, you can probably kick everyone's butt listening to this community call, right? You're like a world champion of jiu-jitsu.
I won bronze, the bronze medal at the World Championship. Yes.
Wow,
yes.
that's crazy. Where was that?
It was in Las Vegas in the US. So yeah, thank you.
Wow. So you went free fighting in Las Vegas. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. It's really, really impressive.
Thank you very much.
Cool. So yeah, you, aside from being kick-ass, you're also a coder, or at least a builder on StarkNet. And today you're presenting Friendsland, which is a game you've been working on for a few weeks, I imagine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the floor is yours, so you can share your screen and we're listening.
Okay. Yeah, let me share.
Oh, you're mute on Discord.
Ah, okay.
You're muted on Discord.
Is it okay?
It is.
Wait. And can you can see my screen as well?
We can.
Okay. Yes, so Frens Lands, it's an on-chain strategy game where the goal is to harvest and gather resources to build your dream community of friends. So we started the project a few weeks ago during the Matchbox hackathon. We are a team of 4, 3 developers, Thomas, Quentin, and I, and 1 pixel artist, HPMNK. And since the hackathon, we continued working on our project. So after the hackathon, our first goal was really to make our build truly playable, so we could start getting some first feedbacks from our community to help us like inform and decide on which features to focus in the next few weeks. So actually, like currently, the game is testable on StarkNet testnet, but for people that own a land, an NFT. So I'll come back later on how you can test the game and like enter the playtest session. So in Frens Lands, everything starts with a land, as the name suggests. So for now, there are 5 biomes. You have the grass, sand, shadow, mountain, and blue biomes. And in the current version of the game, what you can do is to harvest resources. So you have like trees, rocks, mines, and bushes that are spawned on your map. With those resources, you're going to be able to start building. So in Frens Lands for now, there are 23 buildings. And the more you build, the more you advance in the game, and the more you are going to unlock those 23 buildings. And then those buildings are going to produce resources that you can then claim. And you can then, with your resources, you're going to like harvest and build again. So we have like one issue that arose from this first version, and we were aware it was going to happen, is that at some point, like there are not enough ways for to use the resources that are produced. So at some point, players are going to end up with like too much resources of everything. So that's why we've been working on another set of features that we'd like to release in the next few months. So one is going to be adding a random event system. So players are going to have to handle special events like pandemics that would happen to one of your farms, and it would like diminish your production. You could have a fire happening on part of your land, and so on. We also want to add an in-game diplomacy system. So basically your land won't really be your land. It would be located in a city that would be run by a mayor, and you would have to pay some tax to this mayor. Players would be able to choose not to pay, but harsher random events could happen to your land. So it's a choice, but players have to be aware of the consequence. We also want to add an attractivity score, because right now in Frens Lands, what you have to do, like to have more friends join your community, you need to build houses, apartments, and hotels. But later on, we want friends to come and go depending on an attractivity score that would be calculated based on different ratio. So her health ratio, for instance, security, entertainment, and so on. And finally, we want to add the decay of resources and buildings over time. So you would have to repair your buildings. And we also want to add upgrades of buildings, because right now you cannot upgrade any building. Other features we are looking into, so we are going to rework the land generation, because right now, even if there are 5 different biomes, all the lands, they are like pretty similar. The only thing that changes is the front, so the design of the game, depending on your biome. But what we want to do later is to have like a procedural placement of resources, and we want to adapt the gameplay depending on the traits of your map. We also want to add a way for players to exchange resources, and we're also exploring cross-usage, interoperability, for Frens Lands with other games and apps. So either by like allowing players to bring their Web3 assets into Frens Lands, like having a board, if you own a Bored Ape, you could have like a specific skin in the game for one of your buildings or specific decorations. And you can also like thinking the other way around is how you can like bring your Frens Lands assets into other games. So right now we are conducting some testing sessions. We opened the first testing session in August with 50 people. So we wanted to start small at first, because we're a small team and we wanted to have time to answer to everyone, to discuss with everyone, and to have time also to solve the first bugs that playtester encountered. So we are going to open 150 additional slots for playtesters. And actually, we are going to communicate on our Discord server later today on how you can join the next wave of 50. You can follow our Twitter account, Frens Lands, and join our Discord server. So here are some lands that are of our first playtesters. So it has been really like these past few weeks were really great because we got really like invaluable feedbacks and ideas from playtesters. They spent a lot of time playing the game, so we're really thankful, and it really allowed us to improve the UI of the game and to like fix some bugs we had. So we are really looking forward to having more playtesters. So maybe I can show you how the game works. I can do a small demo. I just need to share my screen. If I can.
I think you should be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Just I have too many windows open.
You're closing all your embarrassing tabs, aren't you?
So you're seeing the land right now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so basically, so here it's when you just arrive on your land. So normally you arrive, you have 20 food, but here I already harvested 1 tree. And when you arrive in Frens Lands, your first goal is to repair your cabin because it will bring 2 new friends into your community. So I can start by upgrading. Here you have to sign the transaction. So because right now, any action of Friendsland, for any actions you do on Frens Lands, you have to validate a transaction. So this will, like we are going to update the system in the coming weeks. Of course, so we can think of adding session keys, which would be a great add because you won't be bothered in the UI when you play, whenever you have to send the transactions. But we are also thinking of other ways to like improve the rapidity of the game by, for instance, sending transactions by batch in multi-calls. And or allowing the front end to still like continue even if the transaction has not been validated yet on the testnet. So here basically what you can do. So here basically, so I'm repairing my cabin, but I have to wait for the transactions to be validated on chain. I'm gonna harvest a few trees and some rock because I'm going to need them later. Do you see my screen when I change tabs or not?
We do.
Okay.
Just to be sure, the friends are the little white creatures moving in the middle, right?
Yes. So for now, we have a ratio of 1 friend, which is this little white ghost. Yes, for every 5 friends you have in your city. So right now, here, for instance, the white icon are the friends that are available to work in a building. The black ones are the ones that are already working on the building. So here I have like 38. Yeah, I need to have more friends if I want to build more buildings, for instance. And so in later releases, we would have like pathfinding for friends. We would customize friends. So imagine you're building a bakery, for instance. When you're building the bakery, you would see friends going and actually building the building. So we're thinking of like many ways for friends not to be ghosting on your land, and so that it makes more sense. And here with the more advanced land, so actually here I can claim my resources that are produced by my buildings by sending a transaction.
I really like the design.
Oh, thanks. And And how it works now for buildings to produce is that you have to fuel the production prior. So for instance, in this wheat farm, I can like fuel it for 10 blocks. Because during the hackathon, we decided that one block equals to 1 day, but this will change in the future. We are going to change it so that we have like a system that would be like more like traditional games, meaning that a day would last a specific amount of time, and every day you would get you would pay for the buildings that are active, and you would get the resources without having to fuel the buildings prior to that. So here on the first one, I repaired the cabin. So now I can access like new kinds of buildings. I can build houses, for instance. So yeah, basically that's the game.
And the objective is to have as many friends as possible, right?
So right now in the first version, the objective is to build the 23 available buildings. So yeah, that's really the first goal. In the long term, the goal would be different because it's going to be to have like a thriving community of friends, but there are going to be like friends are going to come and go depending really on what your city looks like, what your community looks like, which is not the case right now. One other thing that I did not mention is the multiplayer part. So for now, it's a game that you play in solo mode, but that won't be the case forever. We're thinking of ways that you could like invite like people to visit your land, but also really a true multiplayer mode. So we could have like a domination mode. You would have two players that would be spawned on a bigger map, and players will need to dominate the other, but in terms of space, meaning that you have to do some sort of conquest of the block on your maps. So build as much building as you can, harvest as much as you can. And the other mode would be a chill mode. So you would be spawned with a friend, and you could have like the traditional gameplay of Frens Lands, but you would play with someone else, meaning that you could exchange resources with that person. You could like organize your lands how both of you would like to, and so on.
Super cool. Okay. Thank you a lot for the presentation.
Thank you.
So question is, how much of the gameplay is on-chain?
Well, actually, right now, currently, everything it's every time you're like, so actually, the maps, they work in blocks. So right now, a map equals to 640 blocks. And so on chain, we know what kind of resources is spawned on the map. So we know where there is a tree, where you built something. So whenever you are harvesting something on your map, you are building or you are upgrading your cabin, this happens on chain. Right now, also, all the resources, they are ERC 1155. But all of this is subject to change because during the hackathon, we did not work, we worked more on the game in itself than on the tokenomics. So that's also something we're going to rework in the coming months to have a sustainable tokenomic, sustainable economy for the game.
It's better to have a fun game first.
Yeah, that's what we think also. That's why we're focusing on that part.
Super nice. So what should people do if they want to follow Frens Lands or use the game?
So they can follow us on Twitter and they can join our Discord server because we are going to make an announcement later today. People are going to have to fill another form. And then from the responses, we are going to choose the next 50 playtesters. We will choose them by the end of the week for sure. What we do then is that we airdrop a map and then testers can start testing the game. So
everyone uses the same map?
Oh no, there are 200 different maps, but with only 5 biomes. But yeah, so no, everyone has its own map.
Cool. And the maps are generated like randomly? Do you guys generate them on chain outside?
No, it's not generated randomly for now. That's something we are going to do in the next releases. For now, it's all the resources that are spawned, they are the same for all the maps, but it will change. And everybody will truly have a unique land.
Wonderful. Well, great. Thanks a lot, Iris, for presenting this.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing the public launch soon. It will take some time.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today.
For sure. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Let's see if there are questions. I don't see any on YouTube. Let me check if there are some on Discord. There are none for now. So if you have questions on Discord or on YouTube, you can write them in the chat. Yeah, aside from that, I don't see any questions. So, anyways, thanks a lot for coming, and looking forward to seeing what's next for Frens Lands.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day. So, for the second part of this community call, let's talk a little bit about the 0.10 upgrade of StarkNet that happened this week, actually. So I'm going to take my screen, share it with you, and we are going to just cover real quick, just in case you haven't heard about 0.10. So, wait, we actually have an official blog post, so maybe we should go over that. I know Odin shared it yesterday, so let me just look for it and check if there are questions. I am scrolling Odin's feed. A lot of thing about the beta triggers update. So yeah, the merge is coming soon on mainnet. I hope everyone is excited about it. We sure are. There was a question around whether StarkNet will be down during the merge. StarkNet wasn't down during the merge on Girly, so I mean there shouldn't be a downtime, but you know, when periods of transition, it's always hard to see exactly what's going to happen. So we'll communicate further what will actually happen. Once we have more precision. Okay, so I don't find the post we put out, so I'm just gonna use the notion I have. So regarding the 0.10 upgrade, so StarkNet is evolving, Cairo is evolving, and 0.10 is the latest version in that. It was released last week for the integration environment, which means that you could play with the package and deploy a few stuff in an environment that is like the testnet of a testnet. And yesterday, the Girly testnet for StarkNet was upgraded with 0.10. So right now, if you want to interact with Girly, all of these things are live. Just give me a moment. And it's this one. All of these things are live, meaning that there's a new transaction version. We introduced a few changes in how transactions are managed. And so right now you have a field for a version of transaction, and there are two valid values, version 0 and version 1. In version 1, there's no entry point selector, and there's a field for the nonce. Here you can see the difference in both of these transactions. Right now, so if your app was working before 0.10, it should still work. That being said, the transaction version 0 will be deprecated in the future, most likely with version 0.11. So in a few weeks. You have time, but you should start working on this right now. The new feature that was released is the validate/execute separation. In the past, on account contracts, you had just an execute function. And now you have and in this execute function, there was a part of the function that was dedicated to validation, hopefully, in your account contract to make sure that the transaction was valid. Now you should have two different endpoints for that, one for validate and one for execute. The goal of validate being to make sure that this transaction is accepted by the account contract as, yes, I can try to execute this transaction and I'm willing to pay for trying to execute it. Meaning that passing validate will allow the sequencer to deduct the fee from the account contract that was specified in the transaction. Obviously, right now, not all of this is enforceable in the sense that if your transaction fails, for example, there's no way for the sequencer to extract the fee. But this will come later with Cairo 1. And more on that later. There's a talk on YouTube by Shahar during StarkNet CC in July that you can watch. You'll get more info in the coming days and weeks about Cairo 1. The third big change is the introduction of nonces in the protocol. We mentioned it briefly when we talked about transaction versions earlier, but basically nonces used to be part of account contract. They now become part of the protocol. The goal being that we want to make sure that no transaction can be replayed with the same hash. Same as before, this change is backward compatible, meaning that you don't have to specify these right now in your app, but you will be in the future, so you should start working on this. Fourth change is the L1, L2 message fee. Before, when you sent a message from L1 to L2, you could just send a message and it would get executed on L2. This is obviously a DOS vector. People pay for the message on L1, but you could send a very heavy load in your message on L2. And so right now, there's a new mechanism to allow for fees to be paid when you're sending a message. Same thing, this is backwards compatible, but eventually in the future, this will be deprecated. So start working on upgrading your application now. Fifth change is the fees for declared transaction. So a few versions ago, we changed the deploy sequence for StarkNet. Initially, when you deployed a smart contract, you would just deploy a smart contract and it would give you an address with a specific code. I mean, you would deploy the code at a specific address. Now you have to split this logic in two. There's the declare class hash. You declare the code of your contract saying, I want this code to be usable by smart contracts. And then you deploy a contract and you say, I want to deploy a smart contract using this code. The issue there was that declared transactions, you wouldn't pay for them. They were just available. And same, this is a DOS attack vector. So we're in the process of removing it by adding fees. So making it so that when you declare a new class hash, there's a cost associated to that. And again, if you don't change anything right now, it will work, but it won't in the future. So if you use declared transactions, make sure to start working on it now to adapt it. Finally, the last big change is the Cairo syntax change. And I know this can feel a bit overwhelming for some people, like changing the language that you're using for some of you daily. The rationale behind that is that, as you know, Cairo is evolving. It's still a very young language, and there are new features and new things added all the time. And the syntax of Cairo was a bit of a mix. You know, we'd had some things from Python, some things from C, something from JavaScript. The goal long term is to have, and right now the Cairo VM is written in Python. The goal long term is to move more towards a Rust-based stack. So you would have the Cairo VM written in Rust. Some community members are actually already working on that. And the goal is to have the syntax of Cairo move a bit closer to Rust also. So a few changes were added. Before, your function would be declared kind of like a Python function with 2 dots here, and you would jump a line. Now we remove the 2 dots and you have curly brackets at the beginning and the end of your transaction. Another things we added is that instead of just jumping a line, you now have to have a semicolon at the end of your line. And finally, we changed also the way structs are declared, kind of like with functions. What is done for functions, instead of 2 dots, you now have curly brackets. So yeah, these are the new changes in Cairo. Some things are still a bit clunky and not perfect. I know that, for example, the curly bracket needs to be here. You can't jump a line with it, and so it can feel a bit like it doesn't feel as flexible as it used to be. But these things are like largely small artifacts that will be corrected in the future if there's a big demand for that. So I know this is a big change, and I hope it's not too unsettling. And yeah, I'm very curious to read your comments if you have any on these changes for 0.10. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now and check if there are questions on YouTube and Discord. There are none, so I can keep on. So yeah, what's the planning for 0.10? So right now, so 0.10 was in integration last week. This week it has been updated to Girly. It's going to stay on Girly for a week or two. I'm not sure, to be honest. Let's check. So it's going to stay for a certain period of time, and then it's going to be deployed to mainnet. There's actually, so there's a channel on Discord that is StarkNet version announcement. It is in, which part of Discord is this? It is in, okay, so the channel is called StarkNet versions announcement. It is in the PSA section, and you can check the release notes. You can check the blog post. Is there a deadline? There's no deadline yet for mainnet. So you'll have to stay tuned there. We'll announce it in advance for sure. There's also a Telegram group for that if you're interested in that. So the plan is to have this hit mainnet in, I think the next couple of weeks is a reasonable deadline, but don't take my word for it. Stay tuned. It may take a bit more time. And then after that will come version 0.10.1. 0.10.1 won't include that much breaking chains for devs. It will include new changes in terms of how the backend of StarkNet works. And specifically, hopefully, 0.10.1 will introduce the first version of transaction parallelization, meaning that StarkNet will be able to produce a bit more transactions at the same time. It's still a very new release, a very new, very rough implementation of parallelization, but it should make things a bit better in terms of throughput. And then we don't have a fixed date for 0.11. It will come in a few weeks, meaning like it won't come in September. So you have a bit of time to upgrade, but it will come in the short to medium term. And that's about it for what we discussed. I wanted to discuss with you all in the community call. Again, I'm gonna check if there are questions both on Discord or on YouTube. I don't see any, so I think I was crystal clear. This is great. Iris left, but I want to thank her again for presenting Frens Lands. And if you're building something on StarkNet and you're curious to and you want to present what you're building on, you're more than welcome to do so. Reach out and we'll be happy to have you on the call. All right, everyone, I'm gonna stop here. So thanks a lot for attending and see you next time. Bye.